Everybody, Dave here with another episode of the podcast. Today, we've got a returning friend and guest and real estate entrepreneur extraordinaire, Adrian Pannozzo. Adrian is zooming in from cottage country in Ontario because as we're recording this, it's summertime, and that's what real estate folks in Ontario do in the summer. They hang out in the cottages. So, Adrian, good to see you again, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely, Dave. Thanks for having me back on the show. It's amazing how time flies. It's been, 2 years since we spoke?
Yeah, it's been 2 years, and we were chatting a little bit off camera, and it's amazing what you've done in the last 2 years. And for folks that didn't check out Adrian's episode before, make sure you do that. This will be a very good compare and contrast. Plus, Adrian is focusing on multifamily properties. And last time we talked, less than 2 years ago, he was hovering around 200 units in his portfolio, which is pretty darn impressive. And he's on target to have doubled that by the end of this year, bringing it up to 400 units. So that's what we're going to be talking about, is how you have managed, because it took you about 10 years to get to that first stage, and you weren't slacking. In 2 years, you've almost doubled that, which is amazing. So, Adrian, love to unwrap what's been going on over the last couple of years that has just allowed you to have this meteoric growth.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, Dave, we really, really can compliment ourselves on the success we've had in the last couple of years, all to do with really perfecting the BRRRR strategy, which I know you're quite familiar with, the buy, renovate, refinance, rent, repeat strategy. It's really allowed us to capitalize the industry in the joint venture market and attract really at a high level a lot of different joint venture partners because of the success we've had and the numbers we're putting forward on our BRRRR projects. So it's essentially allowed our JV partners to rinse and repeat their capital, and basically capital in, capital out. And they're like, wow, that was awesome, Adrian. It was painless. It was quick. It was easy. And they're
let's do some more. Yeah. Well, hey, let's back up just a second here, Adrian, if you don't mind. So take us back 10 years or so when you're first getting started in this. What did those BRRRR type, were you doing BRRRRs back then? And what did those BRRRRs look like? Were they single family homes? What did your joint venture arrangements look like? And then fast forward to today, and let's take a look at what you're doing nowadays and how you've scaled it.
Yeah, so obviously when we started, we didn't have the team of professionals that we have now. Mm-hmm. We've grown into obviously our companies and whatnot. When we started, my first few properties were turnkey, to be quite honest with you. I didn't even know about the BRRRR, but then when we started to explore the BRRRR, we weren't as good as we are at it now, and it's all about the numbers. And two, we didn't have our in-house construction company. We didn't have in-house property management and everything that goes with that. So I think, basically we've progressed into what I like to say the Costco Effect, where we have our group of companies under one roof who facilitate these incredible returns and help the success of our BRRRRs. So we've grown.
So were you way back in the day, were you just doing BRRRRs on single family homes, and these days you're focused on
more duplexes, maybe a triplex here and there. Mm-hmm. One of our biggest purchases towards the end of 2021, well, actually we didn't take possession until 2022, I believe, was a 45 unit building, purpose-built apartment building, 45 units. Obviously when you're perfecting the BRRRR, and bringing in 45, 50 doors at a time, you're scaling that portfolio really quickly.
Oh, for sure. Well, okay. So let's take a look at that. So way back in the day, you're doing duplexes. Now you're doing quite large multifamily properties. That's and you're doing this in Ontario, correct? If I recall correctly, you're kind of around the Hamilton area is your sweet spot, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so let's take a look at a BRRRR on a 45 unit building. Other people would call that perhaps, increasing the NOI, bring it to higher, better use, that sort of thing. What does the BRRRR on a building that size kind of look like for Adrian and his joint venture partners?
It's funny, even the concepts, the meat and potatoes of a BRRRR, it's like riding a bike. Once you take the wheels off and you perfected riding your bike without the training wheels, it's just on a bigger scale. Are you riding a mountain bike? Are you riding a high speed, racing bike, whatever? But the concept is the same. Hold the handlebars, work the pedals, keep it straight and don't fall, so to speak. But yeah, so our systems and models we've built over the last couple of years, several years actually, have enabled us for that growth. So the concept's the same. It's just obviously on that 45 unit building, you got, these big multifamily buildings, they come fully tenanted.
Yeah.
So you've got to start.
And you're in a very unfriendly landlord province. So how are you able to turn those units around and increase the rents, increase the values with that many tenants in place?
Yeah. So quite simply, cash for keys.
Okay.
We work those numbers in our budget, in our analysis. We're putting those numbers in there, our carrying costs, our cash for keys costs. All those projections are in our initial analysis when we're honing in on that building. And so we're accounting for those payouts of those tenants and whatnot. And then ultimately, I like renovating those units in apartment buildings because there's really nothing structural. It's all cosmetic, floors, paint, trim, bath.
How old was that building that you bought, the 45?
70, 75.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So the units were
good solid building, probably good size units as well.
Absolutely.
Just needed some massive updating, I'm sure.
Yeah. So the tenants move on their way. Usually we're in and out in 30 days per unit.
Okay.
Floors, paint, trim, kitchen, bath, lighting, but nothing structural, which is great. And we can save time there by just not having to go through the whole permit process with the city because we're just doing cosmetic stuff. So our goal is in and out per 30 days per unit.
And are you doing one unit at a time or multiple units at a time?
Multiple.
So give or take on
3-4 units on the go. It's just how quick can we get those tenants to accept that offer, the legacy tenants, and then obviously move on.
Now, just out of curiosity, because I've coincidentally spoken with a few other investors in the Ontario market recently, same kind of situations. What are you kind of looking at for a cost for doing the cash for keys in this kind of situation? Or what are you budgeting for, give or take? I know it's different for each tenant, but you got to have a ballpark in mind.
Yeah. So good question. We're ranging anywhere, let's say from 3 months rent compensation up to potentially, depending on the unit, the size, so on and so forth, maybe up to $5,000.
Wow. Yeah. So that's a big chunk of change for sure. Now, what about, you got to have a few folks there that just absolutely don't want to leave. How do you work around those folks?
We're just persistent. Ultimately you can't force them to leave. They have rights obviously under the landlord tenant board. But it's just baby steps and negotiation and helping them potentially find a new place and helping them navigate that as most of them have been there a long time, so they haven't been out in the market looking and they really don't know. It
must be a massive sticker shock for them when they see what current market rents are compared to what they're.
Yeah, there's definitely more. They're definitely higher than what they're paying for sure. But our goal is to have them use those cash for keys dollars to compensate the difference in rent.
Yeah, definitely. No, that makes a lot of sense, Adrian. Wow, that's another fantastic idea. Hold on to that thought for a sec. We'll be right back. Now, are you a real estate investor who's run out of cash or credit to grow your portfolio? Are you looking to grow your portfolio using other people's money and raising capital? Well, I want to show you how to raise six figures or more in 6 weeks or less at my upcoming Investor Attraction Workshop. You can get your ticket and find out all about it at investorattractionworkshop.com. We're going to spend a full day taking a deep dive into this roadmap that I've used to raise millions for my deals, and I've helped other people just like you cumulatively raise hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for their deals as well. So again, you can check that out at investorattractionworkshop.com. And as a loyal listener to the podcast, you'll get 50% off your ticket when you use the discount code podcast. That's right, discount code podcast at investorattractionworkshop.com. See you at the next workshop. Well, that is very, very cool. So you're looking at getting that whole place, that 45 unit building, kind of turned around within a year, give or take, with your crews and with what's going on there. What do you anticipate, or if you're able to share it, what were rents before? What are rents on average going to look like afterwards? What's kind of the difference, the uplift that you're going to have on that building?
We're usually looking at some of these units, the rents are literally going to double.
Wow. Yeah, I would imagine for sure. Yeah, I can see that.
Some people have been there a number of years and they're paying, potentially $800, $850 for a 2-bedroom apartment.
Wow.
And most 2-bedrooms now in that geographical area, give or take, they're about, on the low end, 18, on the high end, 1900.
Holy smokes.
So yeah, we're almost doubling, if not doubling, the rental income. That's our goal anyway.
Yeah.
That's our goal.
Well, that is exciting stuff, Adrian, for sure. So if you don't mind sharing, how do you structure these? I mean, back when you were doing the duplexes and the triplexes, chances are you were probably structuring these as joint ventures with investor partners, one investor per deal type thing, one or two kind of thing. These bigger deals, are you working with much bigger joint venture partners, or are you working with multiple people per deal? How's that looking like for you these days?
Yeah, good question, Dave. Both. Like for example, this one we're talking about now, that was one very successful entrepreneur that came to the table on his own with all the capital required.
Wow, that must have been a big chunk of change.
So that was a big chunk of change, obviously. But we've also done, other JVs on a bigger scale with 2 to 3 investors,
right?
JV partners as well. So we've done both. Ideally, the less partners on one deal is
the
better.
The better for everybody, right?
No. So yeah, to answer your question, we've done both.
Excellent.
Single and doubling or tripling people up depending on the size of the deal.
Exciting. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I would imagine that you're starting to see that as you're growing your portfolio, as you're getting more success with this, it sounds like you're probably able to get your investors most, if not all of their capital back out of the deal fairly quickly. So for example, typically with a smaller BRRRR, a single family home or a duplex or triplex, most of the investors I've spoken with, they're looking to be in and out of that and refinanced ideally within 6 to 8 months, maybe a year on the long side. What are you looking at for these bigger BRRRRs? What's the time frame typically for the refi?
Yeah, so this 45 unit building that we were talking about there that we purchased and we're deploying the BRRRR on, we're looking at a year and a half to maximum 2 years.
Okay.
We've already had some great success in some of those units already. We've probably renovated half of the building. We're just shy of half of the building already. So overall, a bigger acquisition like that, anywhere from a year and a half to maximum 2 years is our goal.
Very cool.
Money in, money out, rinse and repeat.
Yeah. Now, I don't know about how it works with you, Adrian, but I know for myself, when I was doing single family homes, typically a joint venture arrangement would be a 50-50 type of a deal. Investors bring the capital, we bring the deal, we bring the know-how, the management, all that stuff. We split profits 50-50. when I moved into multifamily, in order to make it, now, mind you, we weren't doing the BRRRR, so there wasn't anywhere near the kind of lift that you're getting there. Do you modify the split depending on the size of the deal, or do you kind of keep it a 50-50 all the way across? How do you typically do that?
Yeah, good question. 98% of the time, we keep it at 50-50. But there has been occasions where we've done bigger deals that we will modify the share structure, given the amount of capital that's required, obviously. Yeah. And obviously, we want to be fair both ways. We want to be fair to the JV partner, and likewise, we want to be treated fairly. So we try to create that win-win scenario between ourselves and them. So we're both really benefiting from that structure. So yes, we've done, but more often than not, it's 50-50. Obviously, the bigger stuff is negotiable. Yeah, if that's the right word.
So you mentioned early on in our conversation, you're doing what you call the Costco model. Can you kind of unwrap that for us a little bit? Explain what does that look like for you? You know, it sounds like way back in the day when you first got started. Well, first of all, when you first got started, were you still working full time? I know you used to be a police officer. So was this a part-time thing, or did you jump in full time right from the get-go? And it sounds like when you first got it started, obviously you had outside, or you're self-managing, you're at outside management for your properties, outside contractors. Now it sounds like you've kind of brought it in-house. How does that look?
Yeah, we did bring it all in-house a few years back now. So like I mentioned, we have the in-house construction and we have the in-house property management and whatnot. So, and yeah, I guess my word is the Costco effect of having these companies under one roof. And our mindset was, we wanted to appeal to those joint venture partners, investors, that, hey, you walk through the door and there's everything under one roof, where you don't have to go to 7 different grocery stores to do your shopping, so to speak. So that's what we're creating. It's been working really, really well, actually. And I think our JV partners appreciate the fact that everything is set up that way, making life easy for everybody.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And now, are you guys at the stage now where, in addition to your own work, you're doing work for other people, management for other people, construction for other people, or do you keep it all in-house and you're just doing your own thing for your own projects?
No, we keep it all in-house. We didn't really want to set up trying to get all kinds of different business from other investors on other properties we're not involved with, unfortunately. For the most part, it's just really for peace of mind for our investors to say, hey, I'm dealing directly with Adrian and his group of companies per se. And there's no, going on Kijiji looking for fly-by-night kind of characters or anything like that. It's us, it's our group of companies. And you have that security in mind and benefit for that.
So how many, just out of curiosity, what does your crew look like these days? Because it sounds like you got a lot of stuff on the go.
So we have our construction team now is probably 10 to 12 strong.
Nice.
Plus a number of subcontractors that we bring in for the right project or the right thing that needs to be done if it's outside our scope of work. And we have, like I mentioned, in-house property management. So obviously a leasing department to find great tenants, a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week maintenance on-call department. We have in-house bookkeeping, accounts payable, accounts receivable, and everything in between, really, to really just shape that model really well. So we other exciting news is we're expanding too. We bought a 6,000 square foot commercial building that we're putting our team in now, as well. 2-story, 3,000 square feet, 3,000 square feet. And we're going to house our team there, which is kind of exciting. We're looking at getting possession in the fall, I believe. So yeah, that's kind of happening in the background too. So that's super exciting. It's been a great couple of years, to say the least.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Since I was last on your podcast.
So Adrian, for folks that want to connect with you, find out more about you and what you're up to, I know you've got a podcast, you've got all sorts of things on the go. Let us know where people can reach out to you and connect.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So easiest way is just shoot me an email if you're interested in getting involved with us or the BRRRR strategy, or just pick my brain. My email address is Adrian, ADRIAN, at investwithepc.com.
Perfect. And your podcast, what's it called?
More to Life Real Estate Investing Podcast. And actually, my daughter came up with the name of the podcast, and I thought it was, as soon as she said it, I thought it was brilliant. Because really, Dave, as investors, what are we after? We're after a lifestyle. We're after more to life. We're after more than the 9 to 5 and all that stuff in between. So yeah, it kind of resonated with me. But More to Life Real Estate Investing Podcast.
Fantastic. Adrian, it's always a lot of fun. Keep rocking and rolling, my friend. Congratulations on your success. It's well deserved.
Cheers. Thanks, Dave.
All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you on the next episode. Well, hey there. Thanks for tuning into the Property Profits podcast. If you like this episode, that's great. Please go ahead and subscribe on iTunes. Give us a good review. That'd be awesome. I appreciate that. And if you're looking to attract investors and raise capital for your deals, then I'm going to invite you to get a complimentary copy of my newest book, right back there. There it is. The Money Partner Formula. You can get a PDF version at investorattractionbook.com. Again, investorattractionbook.com. Take care.